Okay, in section 4.3, we're talking about congruent triangles. And what you need to keep in mind is that triangles are congruent if they have the same size and the same shape. Okay, so you can highlight it if you have a highlighter, or you can just underline that. So they're congruent if they have the same size and the same shape. Their corresponding parts, the angles and size, they are in the same position and they're congruent. And they're giving you an example. So here, notice that I have single congruency mark. That means that these two angles are congruent. Double congruency mark on B and K. Triple congruency mark on C and L. So those angles correspond to each other and they're congruent. Concerning the sides, single tick mark. So side CB is congruent to KL. Double tick mark on CA, so that is congruent to JL because that's the one that has double tick mark. And then triple tick mark on AB, so that is congruent to LK, triple tick mark. And you list them. Okay, this is the way you list them. So when I ask you to list the corresponding parts, yes, we have to list all the angles and all the sides. So let's go ahead and follow the given statement. See, the statement that is given, it's more than enough to name the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles. I don't have to have a picture. I'm glad that they're giving me a picture at the beginning, but I don't have to have a picture. If I look at the statement given here, see, the first letter is X, so X is congruent to N. Y is congruent to P. Angle Z is congruent to angle Q. Okay? Z to Q. With the lines, what you need to do is, first and second letter, XY, that would be congruent to NP, the first and second letter. If you look at the picture, XY, NP. You see how the picture is kind of like turn around, the second one? So it's a little tricky. The position is the third one, so yes, angle Z to angle Q. Notice that Z has two tick marks, Q has two congruency tick marks. And also the Y is the second one, that corresponds to P, so single, single. They correspond to each other. And then, if I want to go over the second and third letter, Y and Z, that is P with Q. And then I can go ahead and just go with the first and the last one. I can say, well, YZ, it's congruent to NQ. Okay, so let's answer all the problems. Number one, what is congruent to angle Z? Q, angle Q. Number two, what is congruent to YZ? PQ. PQ. And I have to put that segment PQ. What about to angle P? What is congruent to P? Angle Y. To angle X? Angle N. To segment NQ? First and last. XZ. And to segment PN? That is the first and the second. That will be the first and the second, XY. So sometimes it's better to look at the statement given than to look at the picture because you could get confused. Okay? Now, on the second part, now that we know that we can just follow the statement, which is triangle EFG is congruent to triangle RST, we can say, well, if they want me to find X, I have to look at the expressions that have X. The ones that have X is angle E, and with angle E, that is the same thing as angle R. See, E, same position as R. So angle E is congruent to angle R. So I can start by saying, well, angle E is congruent to angle R. Since angle E is 4x plus 6, then the measurements are equal. So that would be equal to, what is the measurement of angle R? 90 degrees, because it has that little box. And then we just solve for x. 21? Wow, you're good. 4x equals 84. So divided by 4, that is right. X is equal to 21. And it's 21 degrees. Okay, now for y. Okay, I have to look at where the y is. Y, it's on angle T. See, T is the third letter, which is congruent to angle G. So T should be congruent to angle G. Angle T congruent to angle G. Angle T, let me just put this here. It's 5y minus 2. And angle G is how many degrees? 28. And then we just solve for y. So you have to look for the angle that is corresponding to that angle that they're asking for, or where it has that letter that you're looking for. 28 plus 2 is 30, and then divided by 5. Y equals 6. Y equals to 6. Okay, now we need to find the measurement of angle F. So what should be the measurement of angle F? 62. How did you get that angle, 62?
E is equal to 90, so 90 plus 28.
Okay.
And then the sum of that minus 180
Okay.
is equal to.
That is good. So it's 118, subtract from 180, and that gives you the 62. Is there another way you can find that answer? It was cut off? Okay, so just add it to your paper. So is there another way where you can find angle F a little shorter? Do you remember the corollary on acute angles in a right triangle?
Oh, you subtract off.
That's right. Well, actually, the sum of those two angles should add up to what? 90. So that's another way of doing it. 90 minus 28, and that is 62. That's just another way. So two ways. You can choose whichever way you feel more comfortable with. Okay. And number 10, ST. Notice that ST is the second and last, and that would be corresponding to FG. So ST to FG. Okay, so they're congruent. Here, let me erase that. Supposed to be ST is congruent to FG. So I use what ST is, which is Z plus 4. And if they're congruent, then by the definition, they're equal. So it's 3Z minus 8. So what is Z equals to when you find Z?
106.
106?
106.
6? Okay. Let me just... Okay, so you add 8. And when you add 8, that's 12. And that would be 6. Well, 6 would be just the x, isn't it? Okay, so then since x is equal to 2, oh, the z, I changed the letter. It's not x, and it's not 2. It's z, right? Okay, z equal to 6. Great, okay. And then what do I do? I need to plug it in, right? Because they want ST. So it would be 6 plus 4, which is 10. And this is not degrees because it's a segment. Any questions on those notes? No? So far so good. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you an opportunity to work on the assignment in class. Okay? Yes. We have it on the right side? Oh my goodness. And I thought that was it. Okay. There's that. It's Monday. It feels like Monday. Please let me be excused. Okay. Well, 18 and 19. I know. So you tell me, how much is y equals to? Do any of you know what y is equals to?
40.
Y equals 40. Why is y equal to 40? Because they're vertical angles. They're vertical angles. Okay. Now on 18, I have the two other angles have tick marks, which means what? They're congruent, right? It's congruency marks. So that means that if that angle is 40,
So 180 minus 40 divided by
that is right. We subtract 40 from 180,
140.
and then we divide it by two congruent angles,
So it goes to 70.
and that would be 70. So here, each one of those two angles,
We have to find the x, so you have to divide it by 2.
that's right, yes. Wow. So each one is 70, but see, God bless you. That angle is 2x. That is right. Wow, you're the best. So x is equals to 35. Awesome. Questions on x or y?
Wait, miss,
Man.
wait. Why'd you do that?
Because on the picture they tell me that the angle is 2x. Each one of those angles is 2x.
Oh,
Got it?
divided by 10.
Right. We know that the measurement is 70, but we have to divide it by 2 because of 2x. Okay, number 19. Any ideas on what to do here?
You gotta put the numbers together, then you gotta divide it by that number, and that equals that number.
What do you mean together? What do I put together? Yes.
So what you're gonna do,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna add 5x minus y and 3x plus y, and you're gonna equal it to 148.
Is that equal to 148?
Yes, because they're congruent.
No. It's not equal to
No. The one that is 148 is this one.
Yeah.
The three angles is 180.
So you put the 1 plus 140.
So the remaining from 180,
Is
148, is 32. So the sum of those two angles should be 32.
Okay. And then you combine like the
There you go. Okay, so this is going to be quite interesting, okay? So we combine the x's, that's going to be what? 8x.
x and 1.
The y's cancel each other?
Yeah.
Okay. And then divided by 8. Okay. Now the question is, how do we find y? That is right. So y is equal to 0. Let's move on now to the next problem. So y is equal to 0 because they cancel each other when you plug in the x. So you get the 32. Number 20. Go ahead and try number 20. See if you can figure out number 20 by yourselves. First thing you need to do is to consider, yes, Mari, like you were saying, is I know how to find that angle, like the measurement of that, right? And since those two angles are acute angles, you just subtract 90 minus 52, and that's 38. So, and I have a congruency mark on the other angle given with the 52. So what you need to do is write a system of equations. What you need to do is you need to write 15x minus 8y equals 52. The second equation should be 6x plus 14y, that equals to 38. And then in Algebra 1, and that's the reason why you need to go through Algebra 1 before you come to geometry, is because you need to know the elimination method. The elimination method is a method in which you eliminate either the x's or the y's. But in order for you to eliminate the x's or the y's, you have to have the same coefficient. The coefficient is the number in front of the x or in front of the y, in front of the variable. And opposite signs, one positive, the other one negative. Here, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the x's, okay? To eliminate the x's, I have to multiply the first equation by 6, and I'm going to make that negative. So that one is negative, the other one is positive. And the second one by 15. This is called the process of elimination. And the goal is to cancel the x's, okay? One has to be positive, the other one has to be negative. It doesn't really matter which one you assign negative. I'm just letting the first one be negative, okay? Then you distribute. So negative 6 times 15 is negative 90. Negative 6 times negative 8 is 6 times 8, 48. Negative 6 times 52, 12 carry 1, 30, and 1 is 31. So it's 312. Then you multiply the second equation. 15 times 6 is 90. 15 times 14, 225 minus 14, so it's 210. Is it 210? Yes, okay, so it's 210y equals 15 times 38. How much is that? Thank you, Joseph. 570? 570. Now you combine both equations, and notice that when you try to combine, the x's are going to be eliminated. Then you have the y's. 210 plus 48 is 258y. Then 312 subtract from 570, and that would be 258, and that is positive. Then you divide by 258, and y equals 1. Then once you know one of the variables, that is right. You plug y value into one of the equations. Doesn't matter which one. No, it doesn't matter which one. Let me just copy the first one. 15x minus 8y equals 52. I'm going to use the first equation. I'm going to substitute the y equals to 1 to solve for x. So it's 15x, that's minus 8 equals 52. Then you add 8. 15x equals 60. And when you divide by 15, x equals 4. So there you have the two values of x and y. So yes, I'm going to help you with number 1 on your homework. And in number 1, you have two triangles, X, Y, Z, R, and S. Now notice that they have single congruency mark with a single congruency mark. Double, and then triple. What you can do, you can go ahead and, with a highlighter, if you have a highlighter, see, start by, let me over here with the Y. Okay, I'm going to start with the Y. So it's going to be triangle Y. I'm going to start with the Y. From Y, I'm going to pass through single mark, double mark, triple mark. So the letters are Y, X, and Z. Then the Y corresponds to what letter on the right side? To the S. So I have to start triangle S, and then from S I have to go to R, Z. Okay? So it's going that way, this is going this way. Okay? So it's S, R, Z. And this is the congruent statement. That's it. Any questions on writing the congruent statement? No? If they were to ask me, write the corresponding parts, then I'm going to have to write every single one of them. Like, YX is congruent to SR. And then XZ is congruent to RZ. Not in this one, but later on you have to. ZY, or YZ, whichever of the two, is congruent to SZ. And then you're going to have to also mention the angles. Angle Y is congruent to angle S. Angle X is congruent to angle R. And angle Z. How am I going to call the angle that is at Z? How are you going to name that angle? Angle, you cannot say angle Z. You cannot use angle Z by itself because there are several angles at Z. What you're going to have to do is mention it with 3 letters. Like, for example, like this. angle X, ZY is congruent to angle. See, I'm starting with the X, I can start with the R. R, Z, S.
But why not to write that? Just not.
Because at angle Z, I have one angle, two angles, three,
Why do I have to write
4.
So later on, we could.
Because at one point, I'm mentioning here that I'm gonna ask you to list the corresponding parts. This right here is listing corresponding parts. Okay, so if I ask you for the corresponding parts, then yes, you have to write that. Okay? And this one, you just write the statement and that's it.